Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Mondays. This is episode 108 and today guys we'll be looking at some more bolt action that I have been painting this week. Now I thought I've not actually done a proper intro to Mordian Mondays for a while, and there may be some people that wander across the channel like, what the hell is Mordian Mondays and why isn't there any Mordians involved? Well, basically if you've come across the video for the first time, Mordian Mondays is the hobby video that I do each week for the Mordian Glory channel. It originally was based around the fact that I was doing the Great Mordian Restoration Project, which is still sort of ongoing, but I've taken a bit of a deviation from it, where I was repainting every single Imperial Guard model that I had in my army from my crappy colour scheme to my new colour scheme. But it's sort of morphed into a general sort of chill stream of consciousness, talk about hobbying, talk about general stuff in 40k and bolt action and other things that take my fancy. And it's very much just a casual off-the-cuff video, no script or anything like that. I often go off on big tangents and all that kind of good stuff. So that is the video, that's the style, and without further ado, let's just dive straight into it. So what have I been working on this week? Well, if you can't tell it from the pictures, I've been working on some more bolt action this week. And in fact, a little bit of a miniature milestone for my bolt action US Airborne army. I have now painted all of the basic riflemen and basic infantry that I need for my US army. So I actually have, now that I've painted all the SMG guys, and I've painted all my M1 Garand guys, and I've painted all my M1 Carbine guys, which basically all counts as rifles in terms of the game. They don't have separate rules for a carbine and a rifle or anything like that. You know, it's not 7 different kinds of rifle like there is in 40k. Cough, cough, cough. Anyway, basically, I've now finished that these 8 riflemen. I've actually got 4 full squads of US Airborne, 4 squads of 8. Now, technically, when you buy the box of these Metal Airborne, it comes with 10 guys, and the spare 2 guys that I haven't painted yet have got, are the ones that carry the 30 cal machine gun, the LMG for the squad. But what I've sort of decided with my list is that I'm not going to take the LMGs in my US squads. I want to keep my airborne mobile. I want to take advantage of my national trait, which is called fire maneuver, where I can move and shoot without taking a penalty. And so these squads are actually really mobile, and they put out a surprising amount of firepower for their size, because you just move around with them, you're constantly moving with them essentially. And when you're moving them, you've got 5 shots from your rifle blokes, but because you've got 3 SMGs in there as well, that actually really ups the volume of fire. And so you actually get 11 shots from this little squad, because you get 6 from the SMG guys, and then you get 5 from your riflemen, which is, from a little 8-man squad, is actually a really nice amount of firepower. It pretty much guarantees that when you're spraying away, you're going to get a hit or 2. Of course, there's 6 followed by 6, which could happen, but the funny thing is a lot of the time, as you're playing as Americans, you don't tend to have to roll 6s followed by 6s with your infantry, because you're sort of at long range, and then it's cover for the enemy, and then that's basically it. There's very rarely the situation where it's, because you don't have that -1 for moving penalty, you very rarely end up hitting on 6s followed by 6s. There's obviously, if someone's a small team or if they go down, then you'll hit from 6s followed by 6s. But if you pick your targets carefully and you go for units which maybe have already shot, avoided an action that turn, you can often find that a couple of these squads will, they'll pick off 2 or 3 enemy models with combined fire, and that's a big deal in bolt action. A couple of pins, that's potentially half to third of a squad gone. So I really like this little format that I've come up with my squads, and I can now run 4 of them, which is kind of the core of the army that I've built for my US Airborne. So I've had 2 practice games with my US Airborne now, and the army that I've sort of theory crafted out for them has started to come together really effectively, and has actually won 2 games. And the army, and I'll do a proper video on what I've built and and the full army and that kind of thing when it's all painted and I've got a little bit more experience in my belt. I'll do a full here's my list video. But here's a rough overview for anyone who's sort of watching this and is interested in US Airborne. I don't take any tanks in my US Airborne army. I do take some vehicles, but I don't take any tanks or proper armoured cars. I really lean into the strength of veteran infantry. Because I've done a video on this before, and I know some people disagree with me, but veteran infantry spam is really, really powerful. And it's just can be really, really tough to dislodge. There's obviously counters to everything in bot action. You know, if a German player that I'm facing brings along a Nebelwerfer, I'm going to struggle. Not going to lie, it's going to be really horrible. But when you're playing sort of a relatively standard game of bot action, you know, two relatively normal armies facing off against each other, and that's my meta is very fair-minded. I'm not going to lie. Like there is a couple of Nebs in there, there's a Katusha in there, but people tend to sort of bring it. You know, they know if they brought it every game, it would sour the taste, so they bring it sort of every other game because multi-rocket launchers are really powerful as well. But what I found with this list is what I built is I have my officer. I have just a straight up second lieutenant, and he's just got an extra bloke with him. I know a lot of people will run their officers solo, and I think there's quite a lot of merit in that. In fact, some of my later lists I have dropped just having the aid and put that rifleman somewhere else, put this point somewhere else. But I've got an officer with an aid, and then I've got 4 squads that I've mentioned, you know, 3 SMGs, 5 rifles. And then I've got a little 6-man squad. And this sometimes has an LMG and sometimes doesn't, and the only reason I have that squad like that is because of the models I've got. But it's an extra little squad that I often give some kind of support weapon, so it can essentially sit in cover and just, you know, fire away and be quite tough to dislodge, a bit like an extra but tougher MG team. I then take a bazooka team. I take either a sniper team or an MMG team, just depending on how I'm feeling. And then I take a light howitzer and a light mortar. And then I take a jeep and I take a 50 cal jeep as well. And the bazooka team jumps in the jeep and drives around. And that should be about 12 dice. So I may have missed something, but the point is that it's about 50 infantry models. If you know, at least 50 infantry models, you include all the weapon teams. So it's over 50 infantry models, which is a lot in bot action. It's a veritable horde. And then it's got the transport for the jeep, for the bazooka is fantastic. You know, the bazooka team drives up in the jeep, jumps out, starts bazooka and stuff. And then it's got plenty of sort of HE as well. So it's got plenty of sources of armor penetration for either, you know, dealing with light vehicles or dealing with other veteran infantry. You've got that pack howitzer, pen +2, which is great. You've got the light mortar, which is only pen +1, but it's really mobile. So it's what I found when you're playing like attacker and defender missions, you often feel like you're forced to start with your weapon teams on the board if you're the defender, and you don't have it. And if you have to bring all your infantry on in your first wave or whatever. But the problem with that, I find, is that if you have too many weapon teams, you don't have enough bodies. You can only put like one main infantry squad on. So I played a game of Manhunt this weekend, and I actually almost put my teams down and went, you know what, that's not enough infantry, it's not enough bodies here. And I swapped my light mortar out and put another infantry squad on, and that was perfect. And my light mortar, because it can move and shoot and doesn't care because it's not a fixed team, that came in from reserve and it worked perfectly. I'm a big believer in light mortars now. I think they're not as obviously powerful as a heavy mortar. They're not as just jack of all trades as a medium mortar. But I think light mortars, and I'm going to do a video on this, I think light mortars really do have just cheap flexibility. And this light mortar that I had, and at the end of the day, people still don't want to get hit by a light mortar. You don't want to let it zero in on you, right? So I had a game this weekend, and then practice game that I used, and my light mortar just, in the first game, it just took a couple of turns, took like 3 or 4 turns, but it finally zeroed in and started just blow every turn. I think it took 3 turns to zero in, and then for the next 2 turns, it just blew up a couple of infantrymen every turn because they were in a building. It was like blowing up the infantry in the building, having a great time. And then in the game that I played this weekend, it came in from reserve, like I said, and my opponent had 2 little squads of just 5-man grenadiers. Both were actually green grenadiers, but one of them had uprated and was actually become regulars, just because that's what you have with the green rule. And my light mortar just sat there just plinking rounds at them because it was at long range. When they were shooting at it, it was long range, light cover, small target. And I think there was like maybe one other thing that was often putting on like 6 followed by 6s. But for my light mortar, it was just, I'm just hitting on 6s. I've got the same range as rifleman. I'm just going to hit on 6s. I'm just going to have a great time. And then 6s, then 5s, then 4s, and so on and so forth. So it ended up killing like 4 or 5 little of these grenadiers and forced them to move around and they'd had a really good defensive position. and I ended up forcing them to have to move out of that defense position, at which point they got cut down by like my HMG Jeep and stuff like that. It was really, really effective little unit. So I'm a big believer in light mortars now. I think they're cheap, I think they're fast, and I think the funniest thing about them is technically you can stick them in a Jeep, and you can drive the Jeep up, the mortar team can jump out and then try and mortar someone. It's a bit of a meme, but I definitely want to get an extra Jeep just to try it out, because I've got the one Jeep, but that goes to my bazooka team. So that is kind of what I've been working on. That's the list and all that kind of stuff. In terms of just going back to the hobbying, as I told you, it's always tangents in these videos, guys. It's always tangents. In terms of going back to what I painted, obviously you guys, there's a few videos on me painting this rifle now, so I'm not going to go into the full detail of it. I should say the the painting guide that I follow for this is by Sonic Sledgehammer Miniatures. Really, really good for bot action tutorials. Really good. In fact, I bought my 8th army. I bought another bot action before we even finished my American, so I've got more bot action to look forward to now. I bought my 8th army, guys, and he's got a video on how to do 8th army in contrast, and I definitely want to get my 8th army up and running quickly, because I feel like I'm going to spend half a year painting bot action. I feel like we're in May now, so I feel like it'll take the rest of May to finish off my Americans. And then I want to get my 8th army done much quicker than that. And then we're halfway through the year and I won't have painted any Warhammer, which is kind of bonkers. It's kind of fucking bonkers. Excuse my language, but it is kind of crazy that I've gone that long without painting any guard. And I guess it just, it shows the mindset I'm in at the moment, guys. So if some of my voice breaking, then no, it's not. I'm not crying. I am crying a little bit over 40k, I'm not going to lie. But it shows the mindset that I'm in at the moment. And it's just, I guess I'm just enjoying bot action. I guess that's where I am right now. I am playing 40k still. In fact, this weekend, I have a 2-day, 5 games tournament. And I'm running pure infantry Imperial Guard. In fact, little nugget for those of you that bother to watch these Mordian Mondays, because they do get a lower viewer count, but I know the people that watch them really enjoy them. And I always like to put hidden nuggets in the Mordian Mondays for those people that actually watch them properly. A little bit of reward for you guys, but reward for your dedication, for your enjoyment of this little niche video. I am actually going to be running the 360 conscript list. So my list is 2 battalions, all upgraded to white shields, 12 squads of white shields, Creed, 3 company commanders, and then a platoon commander because I had 35 points left over. I wasn't sure about taking the commissar, just a commissar, just to give the conscript some kind of leadership buff, but I thought leadership means fuck all in 40k. It's better off me taking an extra order in an army like this to give me flexibility. And yeah, I've got some tricks up my sleeves with the army. I think it's going to be really, really fun. I think it's going to be crazy list, but we'll see how it goes. So that's what I'm running at this tournament. So I still like 40k, but I just find it's just difficult. It's just it's 40k is crazy though, and I think that's what I'm coming back round to my 40k again. I think it's like, I do really enjoy it. I do still play it. I keep my eye in. I go to a tournament every month to every 2 months. I never, last month, the end of last month, I went to sort of end of March, beginning of April, I went to Adepticon, played at 2 events there. So on average, I'm still going to tournament every single month. So whilst you've seen a lot of bot action content, I'm still playing a lot of 40k. I pretty much play 40k exclusively in a competitive scene now, just to keep my eye in and keep this channel relevant and all that, make sure I'm not just spouting bullshit and just talking about action, just that kind of stuff. But I have to say, guys, when I play for fun, I'm playing bot action. And when I'm playing for seriousness and competitiveness and cutting my teeth on that, that's when I play my 40k. But yeah, that's kind of where I am at the moment. And I think there's a lot of people who are feeling maybe the same way in 40k, and I know a lot of people are feeling pretty disgruntled with 40k, and there's like we're on a bit of a tangent here, but that's fine. I think it's a bit like, so for example, just to bring it back down because I'm saying a lot of likes and ums and ahs and that kind of stuff. And my brain is, I'm sort of processing this as I'm talking about. Like I said, stream of consciousness. What I would say is, look at my local Warhammer club. In 8th edition, there were so many tables and so many people trying to come along that we had to turn people away. We had to say, sorry, it's full. Over the course of 9th edition, we don't really have that problem anymore. It started off where people were still coming, but more and more people have kind of dropped away. And so now we have about 6 tables worth of people. Bear in mind at one point we must have had double that. Okay? So we're on, we've sort of halved the amount of regular attendees. Sometimes it spikes, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But I'd say on average, we get about 6 tables, whereas before we had 9 to 12 tables. And we had some people having to doubling up. Go, right, you guys do 2,000 points, but it's a 2v2 so that we could squeeze enough people in. And so that's where we were 8th, beginning of 9th. And as 9th has gone along, now we're down to about 6 tables in total. But last week, this is over the last sort of 4 or 5 months. Over the last 4 or 5 months, there's basically been a constant, one of those 6 tables has basically always been bolt action. It's either been me and Simon, me and him play bolt action. Hopefully I'm going to get him on the channel for a battle report. He's got a beautiful British Power Army painted up. But it's either been me and Simon, or that we played it, every week, and then other people saw us and started getting involved. And now it's like, then it became, there's like sort of 3 people where I'd step out and help people learn the game. And now we're at this point now where last week there were out of the 6 tables, there were 2 of them about action, and we could have probably had 3 out of the 6 playing about action. So there's a lot of people. So if you look at the people that have dropped away, like half the number of people are turning up to the club, and then half of those are playing about action. A third to half those are playing about action. Like 40k attendance in my area is down by like 50 to 75%. Oh, pardon me. So it's a bit. That's the state of 40k at the moment in my local area. It's kind of, the people have even been playing things like Lord of the Rings strategy battle games. I'd say at most you have 4 tables a week out of 6 a week now playing 40k. People just moving on. People just trying different things. I think 9th edition has been a bit of a strange one. It's been fantastic for the competitive scene. Not to rag on it too much. And again, I'll probably do this as a separate video now, but my sort of final thoughts is it's been great for the competitive scene, but it's been bad overall. Anyway, guys, we'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about today's video. What you think about State of 40k. What have you guys been working on hobbying wise? I love hearing about your hobby and progress and all that kind of stuff. Thank you for watching. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.